During season 9 of Married to Medicine, we've witnessed Anila like we've never seen her before. Mousy, desperate, messy, and tacky. And I didn't notice until this past season. The first season she was on the show, she was fine. She was kind of neutral in the way that Lisa was. But that's just it, just neutral. It wasn't enough for Anila to be neutral. So she wanted more. She wanted to be taken seriously and fit in. She wanted to master the art of faster clapbacks and a seat at the cool kids table. But what she got in return was a pie in the face, further exile, entangled in her own web of lies and manipulation. Today we take a dive into an interview with the one person with no ties to this show willing to expose her and all her lies. If this interests you, please stay tuned because I have all that and more right here on the Kenya Williams channel. Welcome back everyone to the Kenya Williams channel. If this is your first time tuning in, we appreciate you and hope you enjoy the content enough to return in the near future. If that's the case, at the end of this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Smash the notification bell and share if you care. You won't regret it, I promise. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as you all can tell based off of the title of this video, we are going to be talking about Anila Saijja while deep diving into a recent interview her former friend Zaina had with DJ Richie Sky. If you're unfamiliar with who DJ Richie Sky is, he is a fellow YouTuber who does videos, lives, and comments on reality TV shows. On this particular video, he is interviewing Miss Zaina Wuest. If you all recall, Zaina Wuest is the supposed party crasher at Quad's holiday party. Now, I wasn't going to comment on this subject at all simply because it seems as if we're giving this woman more attention than we should. I can't tell at this point if she's genuine, wanting her 15 seconds of fame, or if she's auditioning for the show. Whatever the reason, we will come to our own conclusion by the end of this video, okay? So a little bit about Miss Zaina Wuest is she's originally from London, England. After graduating with a law degree, she decided to dabble in modeling. She found her way to the Atlanta area after meeting her now husband in her homeland. After being together for a while, he was able to convince her to come back to the States, first in New York, then finally to Atlanta, Georgia. Fast forward several years and she is now an interior designer with multiple showrooms in the Atlanta, Georgia area. How Zaina came into association with Married to Medicine was when she met Toya in the neighborhood where Toya had her home built. And then when Anila's home was finished and they moved in, Toya introduced Anila and Zaina to one another. So basically Zaina knew Toya first, then Anila. So I'm sure what we'd all like to know is, how did Zaina and Toya fall out? Well, according to Zaina, Toya was offended when Anila asked to use one of Zaina's showrooms to film one of her first episodes on the show. That sort of bothered Toya, and she probably saw it as a lack of loyalty. A lot how Mariah did in season 2 when Rico Chappelle decided to ask Quad to do a photo shoot for him after Mariah declined due to a busy schedule. She felt the lack of loyalty because he chose Quad to do it instead of someone with no ties to her at all, which is ridiculous when you think about it, but this is often the predicaments us women find ourselves in. Just because your friend is beefing with someone doesn't necessarily mean you have to as well. It all depends on what is being said about your friend when you're hanging out with that person. Are y'all both bashing that friend, making fun of that friend? Because that is what all women fear is taking place when our friends hang out with our enemies. And that paranoia is ultimately what ends friendships and cut ties. Me personally, my circle is small, and if I'm honest, I wouldn't want my friend hanging out with someone I don't like, mainly because my friend could end up telling the enemy something about me that could be used to hurt me later on down the road. But anyway, let me just go ahead and say now that I didn't like Zaina. I didn't want to listen to her or believe her, and I didn't know if it had something to do with her dramatic entrance to the show, or maybe it was that god-awful dress she wore to the holiday party. But the more I watched the interview, the more she grew on me. She displays levels of humility in large amounts, not bragging or boastful in any way, no conceited or sly comments, and no hostile responses. Pure honesty is what I see from a person who it appears wanted nothing to do with this show in the first place. We all know the debacle that happened at Quad's house for the party. How Zaina was supposedly invited to piss Toya off, and Heavenly is seen revealing to Toya that she heard Zaina was spreading rumors around the neighborhood about Toya sleeping with a married man. Well, following that party, Toya reaches out to Zaina via text, basically wanting to know why she's cool with Anila since they're in a bad way, at which Zaina expresses that she has no problems with Anila at all. But that was before Zaina watched the season when it came out and realized the level of evil that Anila went through to create a storyline. All of the pawns and puppets she used to make her presence on the show more elaborate. And this is what she had to say in hindsight now that it's 2020.
So I'm going to go to support her. I actually had no idea that this event was going to be filmed. I truly thought it was just a Christmas party and a housewarming for her. And so that's when Anila said, you have to ride with me. You have to come with me. And I mentioned, no, I'm going to take a friend with me, because Anila actually told me that it was going to be filmed. So that's when I said, okay, if it's going to be filmed, then, you guys are going to do your own thing. I'm still going to go to support Quad. So I'm going to take a friend with me so that I can, I have my wingman kind of thing. She said, no, you don't need to bring a friend. Just come ride with me. Now, everything's kind of making sense about these conversations now, but at the time, it didn't. But I still said I'm going to invite a friend, because since you've told me you're filming, it's best that I go with, I take somebody. So I invited a friend. This friend of mine was having some relationship issues at the time, which Anila found out. What I didn't know was going on behind my back was when Anila found out I was taking this friend with me, she reached out to this friend without my knowledge and trying to encourage her to come, which I just found out actually recently. That friend got really worried about why somebody would call her and invite her to a party, but she didn't know her that well, so she didn't go. So my friend told me, hey, I'm not gonna go, things came up, so I invited somebody else. So I have another friend, Stacy, who you guys see a little bit of in the show. She came with me. When we got to the, so let me back up again how I ended up going with Anila. So Stacy and myself, we had booked our driver to take us to the event. And Anila said, no, Bravo's sending me a car. Why are you guys going to take a car? Come and ride with me. And I said, no, because, you guys are going to film. Again, I'm trying to do, after what happened between Toya and I, where Toya suspected that I may have reached out to her production to be on the show, I was extremely careful about their scenes, to the point where when Anila did her housewarming, I made a point to go to her housewarming when everything was done at 9 p.m. I still wanted to go to support her as a friend, but I wanted to go once the cameras were gone. So I wanted to go separately. So I told Anila, I don't want to go with you just because you guys are filming, and over again. So she said, no, Bravo's sending me a car, and it's a big car. Nobody's going to be filming at this, in the car. You and Stacy come with me, and so that, we can ride together. There's no point you taking a drive, and you can come back. I still refused to go. Then she said, hey, for my, and it's all making sense now, right? So she said, for my housewarming, you put your sari on, the traditional Indian sari, she said, and everybody spoke about how perfectly you wore it, and my mom wants you to put our sari on for her. So please come to my house before we go and help my mom put her sari on. And then, if you decide to go with us, you can go with us. So Stacy and I went to her house. I helped her mom put her sari on, and the Bravo car, I don't know if it was a Bravo car, but that's what she said, was waiting outside. And that's when she said, cancel your car, come with us. And so Stacy and I just looked at each other and said, okay, we're here now, let's just go. So we jumped in her car, and then when we got to, they parked us in somewhere close to Quad's house to mic everybody. So they got all the mics out, and they said, Zaina too. And I said, oh, no. I'm just riding with her to go to the party. I don't want to be mic'd. And Anila said, no, you have to. And I said, I don't want to be part of any scenes. And she says, well, look, it's going to look really bad when you walk into the house with me as my friend, because you're going to be right next to me. And, if you're mute, because, remember you Quad bought stuff from your house. It'd be nice for you to go and say, oh, Quad, this is beautiful. Comment on your pieces. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Because, she did purchase things from me, and I will, it does make sense for me to hide, nice things. And again, the business side of me thinking, well, it might be a nice, exposure for my shop at the same time. And then we were sitting on the sofa, as you saw on the scene. And of course, Toya and Anila started having some discussions. And when Toya mentioned that, did one of you guys start this rumor about me? I guess we were all kind of shocked. So going back to the rumor, the piece that they don't show on the show is that I did mention that, yes, I heard about it. It's not something that I started.
No, because what you did was you described for us something that was the way it was presented. If I'm remembering correctly, Anila made it seem, at least from the television, that you asked her for a ride to the event.
Yeah.
So that's not true.
That is not true at all whatsoever. Yeah. And I was very disappointed to see that.
She then goes on to explain how she even ended up at the party.
So I kind of want to move into where we saw you at the Christmas party. How did the Christmas party come about?
Since, Toya and I were friends, as I said, I met Anila. Through Anila, I met Quad. Quad then also became a friend. She also became a client who was shopping at my store. And, I'm a great believer of supporting people that support me. And so not just, Quad was not just a friend, but also supporting my small business. And when she was having this Christmas party, I was in the UK taking care of my dad. And she sent me a couple of text messages sending me photos of some of the furniture she was purchasing, just for feedback. And so we were going back and forth. And that's when she mentioned, hey, if you're in town, I know I've been invited to your birthday party, which I can't make. Thank you. But if you're in town, I'm having this Christmas party. Please come along. And that was the invite.
So basically what we've gathered thus far is that Anila is a liar. Because at the party, Anila basically lies through her teeth and denies every single thing. She knew in the back of her mind that she manipulated this whole thing to get all these people in this one room with Toya, all the way down to getting Zaina to ride with her. She literally manipulated this woman using flattery to get her to her house and into a Bravo car so that it could appear that they were super close friends riding together to this party. And then telling everybody that poor clueless Zaina asked to ride with her. It's ridiculous. It's almost like she craved for all this camera time but balled up like a scaredy cat when the fuel she threw on the fire exploded. She was so combative, in fact, that she denied she had anything to do with inviting Zaina to even ride with her to that party, which we now know is a lie. It's all just so sad. And honestly, I'm not really that surprised, because anybody who would go to the lengths that Anila and her husband did for that Halloween party, the whole Saijja Movers joke that they thought was so clever but was so cringy, I knew right then in that second never to put anything past her and her desperation for this show. She then goes on to explain her comment to Toya at the party when she said, "Do you really want me to open my mouth?"
There's a part in the scene where I say to Toya, you don't want me to open my mouth because you don't want me to say something along those lines, like, or you don't want people to hear what I have to say, or something along those lines. After that, they didn't show what I actually said, because then I turned around to Stacy and told her why Toya and I stopped speaking, because my next comment was, it is so petty that you thought that I was going to get on your show telling me things like I'm taking food off of your children's plate, that was the reason why we stopped talking, and the fact that you were so jealous, or whatever the reason it was, that the fact that I allowed Anila to film at my store, and because I went to her daughter's birthday party, you were so upset about that this friendship was over because of it, and it's so petty. So that's what I meant, that I didn't want, when I said you don't want me to open my mouth, I meant about, really, do you really want people to hear this pettiness, right?
She wanted clarification on that because the editing had her look like a true villain. I mean, think about it. If you feel like you're being ambushed into a certain situation, how would you respond? And I'm not taking up for her or nothing like that, but when backed into a corner or threatened, the only thing left for us to do as humans is to defend, right? So I mean, I get that part. But anyways, after it all, Zaina decides to confront Anila about her lies and manipulation, and this is what she said.
Did you ever have an opportunity to follow up with Anila about that?
I did.
Okay.
I think when I actually have a text message where I wrote that sentence where she told Andy I was just an Uber girl, or something along those like this. I was an Uber for her. So I wrote that sentence. I said, really? because I actually was so shocked. I didn't know exactly how to ask. And she came back and said, no, they were picking on me. I just needed something. If I didn't say that, they were going to think that, that I planned this, that this was something that was already in the plan, so that I bring you so I can, So she just danced around, and we never got anywhere. And then there were a couple of other scenes where she didn't exactly mention my name, but it's almost like alluded to where the rumor may have come from, and confronted her. And she literally danced around it. Ultimately, Richie, I think, poor girl, I feel very sorry for her. She joined this, just knowing her on a personal side outside of the show. She obviously wanted to be in this show badly, because I've seen the process in the beginning, how she, how Toya got her in the show and the desperation and everything. And she struggled during her first season, and she simply ran out of a storyline, which is something that she kept saying to me, hey, I need a storyline, which I was confused about, because my understanding of a reality show was that your life is the storyline.
Right.
So
right.
when she started stressing out about trying to find a storyline, I was confused. But then it all makes sense now. Because if you think about it, she, because, obviously I gave this a lot of thought. I'm thinking, if I'm her, she's thinking, I don't want it to come from me, but Zaina's the perfect person, because Zaina and Toya had a fallout. The names that she brought up that Toya was meant to be having an affair with is the, person that one of my friends, it's my friend's boyfriend, or her other half, who I don't want to mention the name, who Anila found out at a really little event in her house that they were having issues in their relationship, and they live in the neighborhood. So all that information together gave her a really good story to put together, and thought, here, let me rope Zaina in, because now when I look back at, all the other meetings that we've had outside of the show, the lunch with Quad, the dinner that she arranged with, Heavenly, all of that, and the questioning during that time, and what she's been saying to me to get my support. I'm really struggling with these girls. They pick on me. They're ganging up on me. My Indian friends don't like me anymore. They judge me for being in this show. Playing victim the whole time. And I really, felt sorry for her, and really, really felt sorry for her, and completely blind to what she was actually doing, until, of course, the show started airing and I started seeing those scenes.
So that is why.
She then goes on to say her purpose for this entire interview was to clear her name. And it's at this part in the interview that I feel so bad for this woman. All she was trying to do was befriend these women. Not everyone wants to be in the spotlight of a reality show, because we've all seen what these types of shows can do to family and friends. But anyway, she says she feels sorry for Anila because she plays victim very well, and even said Anila deserves an Oscar. And I believe every word, because look at how well she sat on Quad's couch at that party and flat out lied and denied everything. Zaina isn't the only one that's accused Anila of playing victim. Toya has also said the same thing before, and we didn't listen, and I bet we will now. So according to her and Toya are just cordial now, and I really feel like they should try again at their friendship, because had Anila not slithered in the way that she did, I do believe these women would still be friends, and that whole thing isn't fair to these women. I love Toya. What you see is what you get with her. She's honest and humble as well, and she could really use more friends like Zaina, because it is now to my understanding that Zaina was never the problem. She was a pawn on Anila's board that wanted nothing to do with this show. Sometimes you have to eat your own words, and in this case, I'm shoving them down my own throat. And this is why people say get both sides of the story, because Zaina's silence was misinterpreted as something else, and now that I have the other side, I feel bad for her and the fact that she was brought into any of this mess. She then goes on to say that she still has a friendship with Quad, but we all know Quad, and I'm not sure how long this friendship friendship will last. I won't wish bad on their friendship, but word of advice to Zaina is to watch out for Quad too, if not as much as you have to watch out for Anila. Now, in a nutshell, Anila has used everyone else as a ploy in her plan to come up with a storyline. Most would think what she done was smart. As I've said before, Anila is tacky. They have coined that phrase for Toya, so I will call her annoying Anila instead. My thing is, if you're a boring person, why have such a big desire to be on reality TV? She's upset that she can't keep up with the women on this show without all the dramatics, and she's also being talked about within her Indian community. So you let this show take you to that point, and now you have no one? That whole interaction with her and Quad in that trailer at the reunion is starting to make a lot more sense to me now. We've all known Quad to be a lot in the past, but one thing we know she's not is a liar. But anyway, after this, I am truly not a fan of Anila's any longer. Can't say that I ever was, guys. A petition to have her taken off the show doesn't sound that bad right about now. But I'm interested in what y'all think. Do we have any fans of Anila on this channel? Do you all believe what Zaina had to say? Do you all believe that Anila has a future on this show? Let's kiki in the comments, cousin. As usual, I love chatting with you guys because you're all hilarious and respectful. And if you all would like to see the whole interview, I will put it in the link in the description. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share if you care. But until next time, guys, bye.